What's up friends, it's VoltFirecore and today I'm going to be counting down my top 7 wants for the new upcoming Pokemon games, Scarlet and Violet. With every new trailer, these games are becoming more and more appealing to me, so I decided, why not make a little list about what I would like to see inside this game. Whatever, we all know what we're going to be talking about today, so let's just jump into the list. For the number 7 spot, we have a Toggleable Exp share, and what I mean by that is the ability to turn on and off the Exp share. For some reason, instead of Pokemon Sword and Shield, Game Freak decided that all Pokemon get a little share Exp when you win a battle. I personally have no problem with this because I feel that the Exp share makes the game more fun, at least for me. It cuts down on grinding and it makes it so you don't have one overpowered Pokemon and a bunch of like mid-level Pokemon. However, for some reason inside of Sword and Shield, they completely flipped it on its head and made it so it's not changeable. If you win a battle, every Pokemon inside your party gets some XP. This doesn't affect me that much, but I think just the option would be a nice gesture. If I'm doing like a Pokemon challenge or something like that, I would definitely like to be able to turn this thing on and off if I want to have the game harder or if I don't want to deal with this. But I don't really see why Game Freak had to get rid of it inside the first place. For the number 6 spot, we have better designed routes. Now, this was actually going to be a lot higher on the list, but I recently watched the June 1st presentation, and it kind of shattered everything I had before. Before seeing this trailer, I thought the game was going to be a lot more route-based, kind of like all the other Pokemon games. You wander around, there's hidden stuff, but it seems that Scarlet and Violet are going to have a lot more similarities to the open world aspect of Pokemon Legends Arceus. Even though this game is going to be more open world based, I think Game Freak is going to include some routes and tunnels and stuff like that. Pokemon Sword and Shield had awful routes that were just point A to point B, and they were making the entire game really unfun for me. So I'm hoping inside of this new game, they have the aspect of the open world where you can run around, and if they do decide to choke you down inside of a set path, it's a lot more interesting and better designed. Think about old Pokemon, when you can go forward and then you can take a branching path, do all this cool stuff to get items, battles, or just find a shortcut. I know they're trying to make this game appeal towards younger audiences that might have trouble navigating something like Mount Moon from Red and Blue, but there's a middle ground between the absolute maze that's Mount Moon and something like the Sword and Shield. I actually don't even remember what its name was. The cave that they had inside of Sword and Shield at the really beginning of the game, that shit sucked. Anyways, moving on. My life is like a video game. For the number 5 spot, we have a difficulty mode. I said difficulty mode, but what I really meant was a way to pick the difficulty of your game, like choosing hard, normal, or easy when you start the game. I don't know why this hasn't been included, since I think it would be a pretty easy thing to put inside the game. If you play the game in hard mode, the Pokemon are higher level, you gain less EXP, and maybe you can't use potions inside a battle or something like that. And if you play in easy mode, more XP and lower levels and stuff like that. I think the option to have this at the beginning would be pretty interesting, because I could do like a Nuzlocke hard mode on my first playthrough of the game and get like a total Dark Souls kind of challenge when I'm trying to play Pokemon. Now, the reason this isn't higher is because I usually get my difficulty out of Pokemon through challenges and that kind of stuff, but I'd like Pokemon to add something to the table to make the games a little bit more difficult. Or technically a little bit more easy, but I think the Pokemon games are already easy enough, but they should give an easy mode just in case.
Barbecue bacon burger. Barbecue bacon burger.
For the number 4 spot, we have good after game content. Now this has a bunch of things that it could umbrella under. It could be like a story, like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire's Delta episode. Or it could also be like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire's huge amount of legendary Pokemon sprinkled all over the world. Have you guessed by now that I really like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire's postgame? Now, it doesn't have to be exactly like that, but I just want something to do after I beat the game that's a little bit higher tier than Sword and Shields. Out of all the Pokemon games that I've played, which I've played a decent few of them, Sword and Shields quote-unquote post-game with the weird hair dudes was the only one that I literally had no interest in completing. Give us some dungeons, give us some quests, anything. This is an open world game. Actually, I'm kind of looking for quests. That's something that I should add on to this. Quests too. But I just want something to do after I beat the game that's besides shiny hunting or completing the Pokedex. So take that however you want. I just want to be able to play this game more than just the main story. Speaking of story, let's move on to number 3. Disclaimer, I go really hard on Sword and Shield story and characters, so if you really care about this bunghole right here, skip to entry number 2 and just go on with your day.
I guess it's time to show you how anime I can get.
Better characters and story. Now I think this could be number 1 for some people, but oh my goodness gracious. I know Pokemon's not supposed to be riveting inside of its story, and its characters are supposed to be pretty simple so younger people can understand them, or just like a kind of basic character that some people might be able to relate to inside their challenges. But I want anything better than Sword and Shields. I have never been so bored doing a story or not caring about characters. I don't care what you say about Hop. I don't like how he was designed. His whole complex on how he's not as good as his brother, not an interesting character development. I didn't care in the slightest. So if this game has a good story that's interesting enough to keep me engaged, and characters that are a little bit deeper than a whiny baby that wants to be like his older brother, they got my thumbs up. I've never fully played Black and White, but I've heard plenty of people talk about how the story is all philosophical and talking about really cool things like that. I don't think this game's gonna be too revolutionary inside the story, but, you know, characters and story are a really big part in making a game that I enjoy. Although the gameplay can be fun, the Pokemon can be fun, I'm not gonna remember the story if it's absolutely dog water like Sword and Shields. Alright, on to the number 2 spot. As you can hear by the sound, I moved to a different area, specifically the bathroom, to give this entry more impact. Anyways, for the number 2 spot, I would like to plead Game Freak, please Game Freak. I would like to plead them for the removal of some of the worst additions to Pokemon as a whole. Natures and IVs. So I'm assuming most of you know what natures are. They either give your Pokemon a buff inside of one stat, a negative inside of a stat, or they just make them neutral across the board. And some of you, if you've played competitive Pokemon, know what IVs are. They're little hidden stats that your Pokemon has. Let's say it goes from 0 to 31. If it has a 31, that means it's the max inside of that stat. And if it has a 0, that means it's stinky poo-poo. You might think that these things don't really have much of an impact on your Pokemon, but there's a visual happening on the screen right now showing a Cinderace that has negative nature inside of speed and no speed investment or no speed inside of IVs, and then a Cinderace that's all decked out inside of speed. As you can see, there's a pretty big difference between the two. Now, I understand why they did this, because they want to get more game mileage out. Oh, go breed a Pokemon to make it competitively viable. That's all good and all, but it's really sad when you go through an entire game naming these Pokemon, playing with these Pokemon, having an entire journey, specifically with your starter, and then you decide, oh, let's try some online play. You boot it up, you pick your team that you used in game, and then you get absolutely washed because your Pokemon, of course, weren't built to be optimal. They were built to play through the game. This is really sad because I love competitive Pokemon, but I have never once been able to use a team that I've used inside the game. I feel that all these things that are stacked onto your Pokemon are just kind of unnecessary to juice out extra game time. I know there are ways to make your Pokemon have optimal stats. Like you can use berries to lower all their EVs if they got all fucked up during your gameplay. You can spend really expensive bottle caps that you need to grind for hours to get your IVs higher. And then luckily inside of Sword and Shield, they gave a way for you to change your nature. But it just seems like pointless monotony to something that could already just be changed and gotten rid of. I know very few people would actually pick this as number 2 or anywhere near the top, but it's just something that's always bothered me.
Montage.
And finally, I know I kind of went way over the top with the number 2 spot, but you'll see why that is very soon. Anyways, on to the most important desire I have for these new games. So inside the trailer that dropped like probably a week ago when this video goes up, the new Pokemon, literally named Lechonker, or Lechonk, was revealed to the public. Now this Pokemon immediately blew up inside of popularity. That seems to be kind of what happens when these games come out. Inside of Sword and Shield, Wooloo got really popular, and then to a lesser extent inside of Gen 7 and Gen 6 with Bunnelby and Yungoos. It seems all Pokemon games want to capitalize on the cute little normal type you can catch really early in the game. Sorry, went on a bit of a tangent right there. Moving on. So you might be asking yourself, Mr. Volt Firecool, why are you putting this random fact at the #1 spot? No. This is a wants list. I don't just want to save this spot to talk about the legend Lechonk. Although Lechonk definitely deserves an entire spot to himself just to be talked about, I specifically brought him up because I want to talk about their evolution. After you name a Pokemon something as epic as literally Lechonk, you cannot ruin this by turning the evolution into an ugly monstrosity that totally ruins its name. Take Wooloo for example. I mentioned how everyone loved Wooloo, but then it evolved. I'm sorry to any double lovers out there, but this thing is so fucking ugly and such a bad design for the cute Wooloo. Okay, maybe that's a little exaggerated, like it makes sense, it goes from a sheep into a ram, it has horns, it's cool, but it's just so sad that they keep having these cute Pokemon and evolving them into things that aren't that cute or cool, they're just kind of like meh. I don't know if this is like a tradition that they just have inside of Pokemon games now, but inside of Generation 7 they had Yungoos, which they evolved into the President of the United States of America. And then inside of X and Y they had cute little Bunnelby, which I really liked, but then it evolved into Big Chungus. So my #1 want inside this game, everything else, screw that, Lechonk needs to be able to keep its cuteness, or at least not be ugly, and its evolution needs to have a name that's as funny as Lechonk. Unfortunately, I did a bit of research, and it turns out Lechonk, inside of some leaks, some people are saying that it's not going to be the prettiest evolution, but you know, that's perfectly fine. Leaks are always subject to change. It might be fake, it might not. I'm just praying that Lechonk keeps its beauty. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I had a lot of fun talking about this game. I've come to a lot of new realizations about this game by just talking about it. Please leave what you want inside the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with all the things I said? Most likely not. But you know, that's YouTube. We all got opinions and we all are allowed to say them. I don't know if I'm going to make any more Pokemon content until a new trailer drops or something like that, because I definitely don't want to go back to my Pokemon roots on this channel. I made way too many Pokemon related videos. But it was still fun, you know, doing the Pokemon thing again. Anyways, I gotta wrap up this video because I got other things to do. So, with that being said, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed and keep on the lookout for my videos.